It wasn't pretty, but they found a way. The Dallas Stars and Mikael Granlund take down the Ducks in overtime by a final score of 4-3 as the Stars continue to outscore their problems. Can they continue it? Because they're going to have to.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The Dallas Stars have won 8 straight home games thanks to Mikael Granlund, an overtime winner to take down the Ducks by a final score of 4-3, and it was Granlund's 600th career point in the NHL. How about that? We're here today to break it all down. We'll talk about the Stars outscoring their problems and how that has to continue with Miro Heiskanen out of the lineup. And I want to highlight the fourth line and how much success they have been having. They've been excellent even during some of the Stars' rough patch here recently. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday. And boy, do we have a lot to get to. So let's dive right in. Dallas was excellent in the first period, and you heard me yesterday during the game preview, thought this was going to be a get-right game for Dallas. Did not see it being as rough and as difficult as it was going to be, but all signs were pointing in that direction after the opening 20. The Stars were humming. All 4 lines were rolling. The Stars were excellent in transition. I thought Robertson, Hens, and Rantanen were playing so well together. I love that trio. They're just so cerebral, especially the way Rantanen can make plays in tight in small areas, and they're still forcing the issue a bit, in my opinion. We saw it on that 2-on-1 in the second period, I believe, where Rope should have just fired the puck instead of trying to feed it over to Rantanen, but they're trying to get him involved, and Rantanen had 3 or 4 just grade A chances in that first period. They get the power play goal, and you're thinking, all right, the Stars can just take it to this Ducks team. But credit to Anaheim, they punched back and made it difficult. And Dallas had to fight through some adversity here tonight, especially with the officiating, which was just god-awful. I can't even discuss some of the calls that were made. Out of the 9 penalties that were issued, maybe 3 of them were actually penalties, but other than that, Dallas got off to such a good start and everything was flowing. And then that second period happened. And unfortunately, the officiating had an impact on the game. The Rantanen call during the Stars' 3rd or 4th power play at that point was just atrocious. And then the Marchment interference made no sense, completely no sense. And then, of course, Anaheim's able to cash in, and then boom, they have a lead, and the Stars are just stunned a bit. But I want to take the opportunity now to highlight Thomas Harley and how phenomenal he was. He had a 3-point night, and he was the difference maker for Dallas. Pete DeBoer said after the game in the post-game press conference he was the best player on the ice for both teams, and he certainly was. He was excellent, and I want to specifically bring up the shift that led to his goal, because I loved that he was able to channel some of his emotion and use it to score that game-time goal early in the third period. DeBoer also mentioned that the Stars were frustrated with the officiating after the second intermission. And look, I certainly cannot disagree with that. But Harley looked ticked off. He looked pissed. And I like to see that out of him. And he drove into the offensive zone. And then eventually, with the help of Bork and Jamie Benn on the forecheck, they win a puck battle along the wall, and then they feed it out in front, and Harley rips it past Stahl to tie the game, and he slammed his stick after, just out of frustration. And I just love that he was pissed off, and I think he felt how a lot of Stars fans felt in that moment, just irritated with everything that has been transpiring over the last week or so. And that was just a big-time goal from Harley, and he deserves all the credit in the world for the way he played tonight. He was just spectacular. I mean, look at the 5-on-5 numbers. Shots for when he was on the ice, 15 versus 2 shots against. Scoring chances, 16 for, only 4 against. Like, that is elite level defending. He played over 25 minutes on the night and was just excellent. He picks up a couple of helpers, including on the overtime winner by Granlund. And it was huge for Granlund to pot a couple too. Nice little sharp shot to find that pea-size hold on Dostal in the second period, just to kind of calm things down for Dallas as well after giving up the tying goal early in that second. And it's just a great overtime goal, and good to see him score that. I was going to come on here if he had another pretty light night and say it's been sort of quiet here over the last 6 or 7 games. Haven't had a lot to be I guess positive, or a lot to talk about in terms of what Granlund has been doing, but thought he had a nice night. And when you score an overtime winner, it's hard to bring up anything negative, but overall his game was there. Dutchy had his legs early, thought he looked his best here tonight, and just the Stars were able to grind it out, and it was sort of an ugly win. They're still really loose defensively. Man, they continue to revert back to what we saw a lot early in the season, where it's just an absolute chore to get out of their zone. It is an absolute chore to get the puck across the blue line, and so many giveaways, and some of it is on the back end. Look, CC, Bischel, for that matter, even Matt Dumba, they're not going to be able to just skate pucks out of their own zone and always make tape-to-tape passes. You're going to get a lot of horseshoes, a lot of rims along the wall. And this is where I think the Stars forward group need to take some responsibility too. We know they want to score, and they have to score in order to win right now with the way they're just set up personnel-wise. But they have to not be overzealous and leave the defensive zone before they have possession, or before they know they get the puck out to neutralize. So many times they're flying and circling through center, and the puck's given away at their blue line, and it's headed right back towards Oettinger. And we'll get to him in a second. The Stars forward group needs to take some responsibility. Players that really stood out to me, though, Robertson, Granlund, their defensive play has been great. And Robertson's play in his own zone has led to a lot of chances offensively for him in his line mates. Maverick Bourque is another player I wanted to highlight too. Thought he was excellent, just had his legs, and he's looked really good. Even since Stankoven has left the last 3 or 4 games, just feel like he's sort of taken the responsibility of elevating his game, and he got a chance to play with Ben and Bourque here tonight. And that line leaves some to be desired defensively, but man, Johnston was on his horse and making things happen too. And of course, he picked up a goal of the a la Joe Pavelski tip in front on the power play to get things going. But I think the Stars need to really buckle down in their own zone, because they're just giving so many pucks away. And get credit to Anaheim too. Like they came hard and heavy. They made it hard on Dallas, and you could tell it just got mucked up in that second period. The first period, it's like, okay, this is Stars hockey. They're flowing, just crisp passes through center. Transition game is good, and Anaheim got better as the game wore along. That certainly helped. I mean, God, they had 17 shots in the second period, and Dallas had 15. It just got so loose. So loose in that middle frame. It's just going back and forth. And this leads me to Oettinger and how big he had to show up in the third period specifically, because he, again, just looks like he's fighting it. And maybe we'll get to this in the next segment, because I have a lot of thoughts on him, because he's just been awful recently. And I know I'm a bit of an Otter apologist, but he came up with a couple of big saves, and we need to give him some love for what he did late in this one against Anaheim. So we'll continue this discussion in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks. You've heard me talk about it before. Filters out all the fluff, shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And it's not just basketball. Want to go to a Stars game here? Want to go to the Ranger game? Opening day is right around the corner. Comedy, concerts, you name it. View the seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you get there. No surprise fees and a lowest price guarantee. That's what it's all about. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your banking account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes into play. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money. You start building wealth. Managing money with your partner can also be smoother than ever with Monarch Money. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page without the stretch. It's all about the all-in-one convenience. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Okay, back to Jake Oettinger for a bit, because we haven't seen him make that save at that point in the game over the last few weeks or so, and he came up with that massive stop on Lacombe in the third period in a 3-3 game at that point. And I said to myself, watching the game with 8 minutes left in regulation, Otter's going to have to come up with a few big saves. And seconds later, he made that one save. I think it was on Killorn. He had to fight it off with the shoulder. Eventually, later, he hit the post on a rolling puck, but then he made the save on Lacombe, and that was just ginormous. But he's just looked shaky. I don't know what it really is. I think it has to be a mental thing. The confidence just does not seem to be there. Even on the power play goal Anaheim scored, it just kind of leaked through him, and he really had no idea where the puck was. He just looks lost at points, and I've sort of came up with a theory that maybe because Dallas right now has to outscore some of their problems. They don't have the ability to defend at a really, really high level. And they're also asking their goaltender to make huge saves. And Otter just hasn't done that enough. I think he's given up at least 4 in 3 of his last 4 starts now, or at least 3. And I think about 5 or 6 straight. I could be a bit off on that, but he's just not been able to make that save here or there. The one in overtime the other night against Colorado, but he came up with it there against Anaheim, and hopefully that's a spark or a spur that starts to turn the tide a bit. And I think maybe he's just, this is my theory, he's putting too much pressure on himself to be perfect, because he's not as comfortable with how Dallas is in front of him, and sort of leads into the conversation about Miro and just how he can control the game with his stick. One of the underrated things about his game too with Miro is his ability to clear out the front of the net and allow Oettinger to get those seam lanes to see pucks from outside and from the point. And it just seems that maybe he's trying to be too perfect, and that's just a tough way to play the position. You can't be perfect on most nights. And he just seems to be fighting it. I can't believe they didn't play. I kept saying yesterday, thought Casey DeSmith would have gotten in. I feel like he needs a few days, because I don't know if this did a lot for his confidence, but an overtime win can do that. He did come up with a couple of big stops in overtime too. So let's not forget about that. Still irritated that Dallas gives up some of those looks in 3-on-3. They just allow guys to come wafting down the slot and get a free wrist shot from inside the tops of the circles, just waiting it for it to twinkle twine. And I'm going to go on a rant here, but he came up with a couple of excellent saves, and Dallas eventually was able to get the overtime winner. So that was big. But again, I don't foresee Dallas being able to stranglehold teams to 2 goals or less very often the rest of the way. It's just it's a alarming task with Harley, who's already playing a lot of minutes. It's like 55-23. Do your best. And Bichel and Dumba had some issues tonight. It's just it's a hard ask out of who they have. And Pete DeBoer came out, of course, yesterday and mentioned that they very realistically could have to play a series without Miro. And I think some of that is him just playing it down, or maybe that's me talking myself into it to some degree, just being naive as a Stars fan. And I know that's brought up a lot of flack about Stars fans or the Stars fans bringing up the point that why didn't they go out and try to get a defenseman if they knew that, right? And look, hindsight is always 20/20, but I think Dallas was probably in on a defenseman. Maybe they ran out of time. Maybe the price was too high. And look, with Rantanen, yeah, you had to give up a good player and a couple first-round picks, but you get Rantanen for 8 years. Were you going to give up a first-round pick, maybe more, for a rental and a player that really may not get you over the hump? Let's say Miro does miss a round. Why waste assets on a player that, maybe he's going to play 15 minutes a night? Maybe he plays a little more in the postseason and you squeak a win. But look, you're not gonna get past round 1 against Colorado without 4. I'm gonna say that. Maybe that's a bit harsh or hasty, but I just find it hard to believe you're going to be able to take down Colorado without your best overall player. It's a tough ask, and maybe they could, but it's going to be tough, that's for sure. And let's say they knew Mira's going to be out a round. Maybe he's out a couple of rounds. You never know. It's a knee injury. Those things can be tricky. Why waste a pick or a first round pick or a decent player to get a rental when you can go out and get a player that's going to be around for 8 years? Because I think I mentioned this and we talked about this quite a bit leading up to the trade deadline. If Miro's going to be out for, let's say, the rest of the season, you're not going all in at the deadline. They probably don't go get Mikko Rantanen even if they knew Miro was going to be out for, let's say, more than 2 rounds. I think they feel pretty comfortable he's going to be back in the first, handful of games. Of course, it can all change. And again, I would say 95% with certainty that they were probably trying to get a deal done, maybe to bring in one of those names that was being thrown out there. But maybe the asking price was too hard. Maybe they just ran out of time. The Rantanen deal took almost probably 17, 20 hours, all things told, throughout the middle of the night. So just a lot of moving parts. And I think we got to show the Stars some grace with maybe not going out to get a defenseman. I said it too. I don't know if there was a lot of great options out there that would truly make a difference. Even beating a Colorado team that, started to put it together, and they're going to be tough ask to defeat in a 7-game series. And it seems like Stars and Avs are going to face off here in about a month's time. So they have a lot to work out. Again, I think there's a lot of physical and emotional toll right now with this team, but I think that was a lethargic win for them. And yes, it was the Ducks, but my Lord, they needed it. They needed 2 points. Cannot drop a point against Anaheim, who's been just pesky this season. And, I give them credit for pushing back and having to battle through some just awful officiating that certainly changed the momentum and change the score to the game. And they were able to get 2 points, and that was massive. And sometimes you just got to roll with it. Speaking with roll with it, how about that fourth line for Dallas? Keep throwing them out there. Dadonov was a healthy scratch. So let's talk about that. And just the fourth line in general, getting the job done no matter what. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with the top freelance talent across multiple industries, including AI, web development, marketing, you name it. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. It's about finding right talent fast and easy. Posting that job is free. It's simple. And within a day, you'll get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your jobs for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. For those of you that may have caught me on sarcastic remarks post-game with Ryan and James, the Chambers brothers, a lot of these discussion topics are from that. So you may be hearing me reiterate some of them, but we went through a lot of stuff and got me thinking and got the wheels churning up in the old noggin too. And the fourth line in particular, I've loved. And Dadonov was scratched, which was a coach's decision. He's had a fantastic year. 16 goals this season. I think they wanted to get Blackwell in a game, who had great juice, had good legs. That fourth line in general, though, whether it's Beck, Steele, and whoever alongside him, has been phenomenal. I can't really recall a time when they're defending. It just seems like every time they're forcing the issue, that they forecheck hard. They're ferocious. I think some other lines could take some notes. I know they're not all built the same, but they work like dogs on the end walls and along the wall just to win puck battles. And they had a couple of good looks offensively. And one of the more important things they do that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, and yeah, you'd like them to produce every once in a while. Who wouldn't want their fourth line to chip in offensively? But what I think they do, which is as important as anything, is just setting up other lines for success, whether that's winning an offensive zone draw. They have a good shift to turn the momentum. You can even look at games like Colorado or Winnipeg. Sometimes that fourth line goes out, has a good shift, hems in the opponent, sets up that top line to kind of build off of that. And then Dallas changes the momentum. Maybe they get a goal here, and then it just sets the tone and gets them back into a rhythm. And I think that's what they've been so successful at this season. And just something that's really kind of jumping out at me off the screen is that line is just, they're getting in, they're spending time 200 feet away from their own net. And that's what it's all about. And they're getting looks. I think they had 4 scoring chances tonight, but they didn't give up any at 5-on-5. And that's what you're asking out of that trio. And I think we're going to see a lot of tinkering. We're going to see Dadonov in and out. Well, maybe not him as much. I think maybe just to send a message to some degree, but we're going to see Blackwell and Steele and Beck sort of get moved around. And look, the Stars have a lot of weapons. DeBoer's going to have a lot of decisions to make, and the Stars are deep too, right? They're deep, and even Brendan Smith is a forward they could trot in there. So there's a lot of different combinations they can go with, but I thought the fourth line of Beck, Steele, and Blackwell had a good night, and hopefully they can continue that, since if they can spend time away from their own net, that keeps Dallas and their defense away from their own cage as well. So I think they've been just phenomenal here recently, and they've been a lone bright spot in some of the rough patches the Stars are going through here over the last week or so. Man, I hope it gets better. I hope they can sort of find the rhythm. And look, they're trying to figure things out, and it hasn't been pretty. I feel like they are searching and still fighting a bit. They're not completely comfortable in their game, and maybe that is with some of the new faces like Ranson, and just kind of seeing where he fits. There's just moments and pockets in these games where they just look all out of sorts. They can't handle the puck. A lot of giveaways. And again, the credit to the opposition. It's not like the Stars are playing a bunch of bottom feeders, but I'm sure they would love to clean it up a bit. But it was a pretty gritty win at home, and just a big time 2 points. And I think that locker room, the dressing room, could exhale, but all right, got a couple points under our belt now. And, Winnipeg kind of got trounced tonight. So, Dallas just can continue to chug along, and they've been so good at home. They're 25th win at home now. This year they've won 8 straight, which is quite a bit. Sorry, I just threw my phone at the mic, but big night for Granlund. Couple of goals. Harley the 3-point night, and the big tying goal in the third. Otter came up with a timely save here or there, and that's how she goes sometimes. Officiating was awful. They're going to get an F from whoever grades out the Zebras at the end of the night. Baffling stuff all the way around from each infraction. That's how we're going to end the episode today, on a negative note, just because they were that bad. So that's how we're going to end it. But that'll do it for a Wednesday edition of Locked On Stars. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. All you everydayers out there, appreciate all the support. You guys are phenomenal. And lot to dive into today. Stars take it 4-3 in overtime. We'll be back tomorrow. Got the Lightning in town. It's going to be a tough team. Going to be a great test for the Stars. We'll preview that, and we'll see you on another edition tomorrow of Locked On Stars. So long, Stars fans.